plan means you have a checklist that's easy to follow so that we don't miss pieces. And this is our plan, and that when I look at athletes, this is how I see them, this is how I diagnose their movement inefficiency, and how I can break down any movement, any sport, any position, anything right away. And what do I start with? Is the athlete set up and organized before they move? And we can see everything. I can project what your next 12 movements are going to look like by what your setup looks like. Can you guys see that in your head now? Why that's so important? So the question is, what's preventing you from getting into a good setup? And now that we start to build a recipe for, hey, I understand what a good setup is, and I understand what the good tight positions are, it's a little bit less nebulous about what positions do I mobilize in. And this is why we start with this morning, because now it becomes academic. Oh, you're having a hard time front squatting? Your wrists are hurting? Well, I can tell that you're not in flexion and external rotation in a stable position for when you jerk. Does that make sense? So what position do you need to mobilize the shoulder in for front squatting? Flexion, external rotation. It's not like, hey, I have to memorize these 12 things. You literally are like, you're having a problem with your front squat, 1 second. Got it. Let's fix this. Does that make sense to you guys? So setup and best fit is the domain of the coach. This is the domain of movement. You know, I put an email in there that I got from a coach that I really like and I really respect. A young woman, she can box jump and double under and power clean and do all these things, but she has knee pain when she runs. Doctors are miffed. She's miffed. Her coaches are miffed. She's seen everyone. What do you think her problem is? She couldn't run. That was $150. Yeah, she had a running technique problem. And don't hand away your best skill and best asset, which is movement diagnostics, right? And so what did I do? I watched her run, and what was the first thing she did? Oh, my knee! Here comes the heel, right? And I was like, hey, why don't you take your shoes off and just jog to the fence and back? And then she was like, wow, that didn't hurt. I'm like, no, run faster. And she's like, that still didn't hurt. I'm like, that's so weird, isn't it? And, she cured, demons out. We cured her running knee-itis. And what was happening, she was having a technique movement position fault. Don't surrender your best asset. Look critically at how the athlete's moving and move first. So when an athlete has a problem, delve into the nuance of the movement, and that's the level of detail where we start to see the significant changes and significant outcomes. That's why the strength and conditioning model that we use and employ, but being obsessed with detail and obsessed with performance, especially when we understand how the body's organized, allows us to see change, make changes quickly, and then start to appropriately apply the right mobilizations to fix the problem. Does that make sense?